make meaning, money will follow.
Most important attribute?
I think humility. I had a notebook where I used to write different ideas that I want to work on. Honest, all I wanted to do was do something which is very impactful. If I'm failing a lot, then I like it. And then, and usually my past experience is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So I will keep at it till I win it.
Passion to make a difference in this world. And it is India's fastest growing eyewear business today. Mr. Peyush Bansal is the co-founder, chief executive and people officer at Lenskart. It is such an honor to have you here on campus today, sir.
It is with great delight that I call upon our President and Chancellor, Dr. Indu Shahani, and our Executive President and co-founder, Mr. Siddharth Shahani, to now commence this session.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. I don't think the Prime Minister also would have drawn this crowd. So a big cheer for him again. Let's go.
Even I didn't know before coming here that I can draw this much crowd. This is the first time I'm coming to a campus, and this is quite an energetic one.
And oh yeah. India's first skill tech university, first urban university, and the first brightest set of students that have seen. So I have to say, and I have to make this confession, that when I was told that Peyush is coming, I got a little excited. And why? Because I watch him, and I watch Shark Tank. And I watch Shark Tank because a large number of my students appear in front of you. Just yesterday, I watched 3 of my young students who were there. So you know which ones. And I have to say that while I watch all the sharks, I have to say, you are the shark with a heart. And I've always seen you give a lot of respect to all the students and all the young people who make the pitch in front of you. You're very respectful to them, you listen to them. I've never seen you say, and because of this, I'm out. I've never seen you say that. And I'm very, very happy to hear that. Because it's very discouraging when you make a pitch and suddenly one of the sharks says, this is it, this is not my baby, and I'm out. And you never say that, and I really appreciate that. One of the other things, of course, I feel very good about is that my own student Karan Johar wears all your glasses. But my first question to you is, he keeps asking you to become a co-owner or a co-founder. Why are you not allowing him to do that?
Because Ronnie took all the equity. I don't know if people here know. Firstly, I'm a little bit, thanks for inviting me here. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I've never spoken in front of, in Shark Tank we are used to one picture. Here looks like thousands of entrepreneurs sitting here. Plus Ronnie is sitting here, and I have never really spoken in a session where, he's sitting on the opposite side, because I think he does this thing and I do my thing. He should not watch what I am doing. So I feel a bit more conscious. But yeah, I think Ronnie, you can tell Karan to call Ronnie. And maybe...
Well, both have been my students. Ronnie became my student many years ago, and I will see to it that Ronnie will be very good to you.
Plus, Karan will rename it to lenskart.com. I think that
All right, go for your question. No, I think before you start, my first question: what inspired you to be a shark on the Shark Tank?
I have actually watched Shark Tank a lot before I even became an entrepreneur, and like literally obsessed with. Like I watched 13 seasons, 13 times each, and I think in me there was always this desire to become an entrepreneur. And every time I used to watch something, I could, I had a notebook where I used to write different ideas that I want to work on. And this is when I was in college and I was working at Microsoft. And so when they reached out to me. I'm not good at responding back. This is one of my weaknesses. But they reached out to my co-founder Amit, and my wife. There was a time when I had gone to a trip to Maldives and Thailand. In both these trips, I was literally sitting in the hotel room and watching Shark Tank when there was a beautiful beach outside. And so both of them called me and said that how can you not consider this? So I did, I went for they came home, they did some mock pitches, I started enjoying it, and then I went with the flow, right? So it was literally that.
No, I think that's super insightful. In fact, we've crowdsourced questions for you today. So a lot of our students have come forward and sent us questions. We were going to make it a lot more interactive, and then we realized we have the whole university here, which I don't think either of us had ever seen in all these years of running the university. I think the first question really is, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Or how did your entrepreneurial journey start?
So I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, literally. I'm not somebody who was born, my dad is an entrepreneur, he's a chartered accountant, converted entrepreneur, but I was very sure about my career path, which was very good at engineering, then got into economics, was doing trading on the stock market, writing code, and then I took a job where I was a receptionist in the university, and I got interested in coding because the back office of the reception is where they used to write code for the IT university, and I got interested, and one day the person there gave me a book, this fat book called Visual Basic, and I read it, and then one summer I stayed back and they paid me $8 an hour to start writing code. In 2 years, I got so passionate about it that I was pretty much heading the entire IT tech for our university. I never used to go back home, and even when I went back home, I was working for them. And that led to me taking up a job at Microsoft. And even though that wasn't my passion in a very late stage, I wanted to go to do algorithmic trading, and I did a paper on that, on how you can beat the stock market every time. And there what happened is, in Microsoft, and I used to work in Office, it was largely to do with inspiration, right? So Office was a product that literally Excel, PowerPoint and Outlook was a product that everybody uses. So it used to feel just proud when you used to tell people that I work for Microsoft Office. Everybody just uses it, and I could tell. And then I was working in, I don't know if you know, in Office many years back, there used to be a PDF writer.
Yes.
And you had to download separately. And I happened to be somebody who made PDF part of Office. So now you can just save as PDF. And it became a big thing. And I felt the impact that I was creating. And so all of this was happening and I was loving it. And then Bill Gates invited a few people to his house on the lakeside. It was like a wine and cheese event. And he was talking about his next plans about building the foundation and how he wants to eradicate malaria. And I came back thinking that the impact that I am making is pretty incremental, right? That adding Office. Till yesterday I was feeling, wow, I've added PDF. Now I was feeling like I've made lives of people who is incrementally quite good, a little bit better. So, and it just happened so that in that year in US there was a lottery system. To get the US visa first time, and I was praying that I don't get the lottery. Where each one of my friends wanted the lottery, but I got the lottery. So I got the visa, but then I told my parents I'm coming back, and I had no reason, no logic, but I decided to come back. And yeah, one thing, I was a little lucky. I wasted 2 years, as people would say, half year furnishing my car garage into an office. Started a classifieds website for helping student housing, and but there was this urge now to do something really much more impactful than even student housing. And then came an article about vision correction and how India is the blind capital and all of that, and that's how we just tried, not with a vision this big, but just tried.
So from windows to lenses, how did you? You talked a little bit about vision correction in India being the blind capital, but what was your true inspiration or the moment that you decided that this is the field that you want to start something in?
To be honest, all I wanted to do was do something which is very impactful. And all I wanted to do was something where I could use technology to make that impact. It wasn't, and then vision correction, because I used to read a lot, looked like a problem that, and I was in hunt for something nobody is doing, to be honest. I didn't want to do something anywhere, and it seemed like nobody is working on it. The problem is big, so let's start it. And then it just started like that. And as I got deeper into understanding customers, and I was trained in Microsoft like that, like really to go deep, have deep conversations with people, and it started beginning to feel that this is the thing. And it became, and about I think few years back, like 2-3 years back, it became like this has to be kind of the work of my life. Like I'm not even interested in doing anything else.
And your decision to go online, because traditionally in India all eyewear stores were brick and mortar, and you really disrupted the model by creating the first online store for something which is so personal, where you have to go in and try. Obviously, in your initial days, all the technology wasn't deployed like you have now with the AR and VR. But how did you envisage that people would be comfortable buying, glasses online?
I didn't think people would buy glasses online. I just felt that it wasn't accessible as much as some of the other categories. And my earlier stint, if you see, I was an online guy. That was my core area of expertise. And so we just started with the view if people don't have access, because there was this discussion that India has some 10 lakh mobile phone shops, but it has only 25,000-30,000 eyewear shops. So we said, okay, let's build online, and then you don't need shops, right? So that's how it started online, and we didn't think people would buy. But one of the things that I did was that in those days, I was literally a customer service agent for not 1 or 2 days. For almost 2 years, I was a customer service agent, and I used to do chats with customers. And even when I stopped doing chats, I used to get a chat transcript. And so if you see e-commerce now, nobody allows chat. You only have a phone number. But one thing that Lenskart has till date for last 12 years is chat. For me to listen to 1,000 calls is very difficult. But for me to read 1,000 chats is very easy. And through these chats, I begin to understand what are big consumer problems that we're facing. And people would come with all these problems. And I do that even today to a large extent. So that chat got me more and more interested in this, and things started moving forward.
And I'd just like to continue with that. And then your decision to go into retail stores?
Yeah.
After going online, why retail stores?
It was from the chat. So what happened is that we were in this desire, and I remember I was sitting at Ronnie's house, and he had called me on a Sunday, and we were chatting. He's like, what do you really want to do? And I told him I want to transform the vision care industry. And he said, why are you doing this other stuff? Why don't you shut it down? And then when that decision we took, I got back to why I really came to India, why I started. I wanted to transform and do something which is revolutionary. And then in those chats, I used to read that people were saying, I want to try glasses. And as much as non-cool it was in those days to open a store, this is what my customers were telling me. And so I used to live in South Delhi, GK2, and our office used to be in Okla. And in middle there was a neighborhood market, Alagnanda, if people are from Delhi. I opened a store there. And I was surprised that there was a queue outside that store. And I still remember there was a neighborhood store there called Identity Optical, which has been there for ages. And in the first month, we had more sales than somebody who's been there for 10 years. And that told me that, this is something, why do these people know? So they knew us from the online ecosystem, and I started joining the dots. And then I had gotten married a few years back, and my in-laws stay in the other part of Delhi, 2 hours away. So, and I had to fortunately or unfortunately, I had to go there also, right? 2 hours. So I used to get bored there. So I opened the second store there. So when I was here, I was visiting this store. When I was there, I was visiting that store. It's still called LKST 001 and LKST 002. 2 stores. And I haven't shut down both these stores till date. So that's how, and what I realized is that the customer is the same. These people come online and they want to try glasses, and the moment they say a store, they just quickly queue outside. So if you ask me, the moral is that these buzzwords, omni-channel, edtech, etc. is secondary. What's the only single source of truth is customer. And if you come to work every day asking why people who are buying, or and why people who are not buying, the answer is sitting there. It is not sitting in any other form anywhere. And that's how people ask, why did you do omni-channel? There was no word called omni. That time I opened a store, I was literally saying, why are you going 10 years back? Today people say, come, can we do a session on omni-channel? Right? And now people are saying, there's so much technology in the store. How did you make a non-cool business? We didn't cool. You were doing all these A/B testing in online. You have so much data in online. In offline, you don't have data. We are just applying data analytics, which people think is cool now.
So we talked about, for all our young students here who have just started their entrepreneurial journey, we talked about finding the right problem, we talked about impact, we talked about focus on consumer. One question that often is important is brand, right? And eyewear is something where you need brand and trust together. And you took on, I would say, the Flipkarts and the Amazons to really build a unique brand. How did you go about doing that, and why is that so important?
I think everything needs a brand. It is one of those things where brand is not just marketing. It is a combination. It's your culture, and your inner brand, outer brand needs to be same. And I think a lot of marketing people think that they make the brand. They don't make the brand. When you go to a Starbucks and have a coffee and somebody greets you with your name, and that's what's making the brand also, right? Marketing is just communicating what you already have. And one of the things I always wanted that whatever I do, personal level, should be as, I am a little bit emotional that way. If you are, I used to say that in those days, if you have a boarding card, and there are people who used to fly all these airlines, but one airline, Indigo is a low-cost airline, but even if you flew Indigo, you would keep the boarding card on the table. But when you flew other low-cost airlines, you would hide it in the pocket. And I always say, I don't want to be the brand that you would hide in the pocket. You have to feel proud. And that was the first sort of key principle that we have to build. And now if you think of it, that is also important for my people, for me to come to work every day, to want to feel good about it. Now, that is the internal brand and customer brand is, but over the years we realized that one of the most important things in brand building is to keep the aspiration high. And aspiration has nothing to do with the ticket size. Aspiration is to do with feeling good, feeling proud about owning anything, taking anything, and going back home and making it part of a dinner conversation. We used to run this home service, we still do. And to be honest, it's not a very large business today. We run it for 10 years. But it is very valuable, people who have it. And then I went and spoke. Almost 90% people who take a home service have a dinner conversation about it. You're building a brand in that sense. So, yeah, it's a very complex part. 100 things need to come together. And which is why recreating brands is not easy.
Don't we know it, because we're just 18 months old and we're creating a brand. But I want to take a test quickly. How many of you feel proud about the Atlas brand? But I want to clap for it. Come on. But I've got my 2 young people here who love the Atlas brand, but they love your Lenskart even better. They are wearing a Lenskart brand here.
Thank you. Keep doing that. I'll send you new t-shirts.
We will give you a right to a question. So, Sid, just one thing before this. You know, all these students are young entrepreneurs because I think in India for too long our higher education teaching system only was focused towards job seekers, and we didn't really develop job creators. And you know, we're teaching entrepreneurship here, whether it's the design school, it's the management school, and I mean, I have to only get into an elevator and every minute a pitch is being made. I just want to know, one of the things one of the students asked is that so many people make a pitch in front of you in the Shark Tank. What are the common mistakes people make so that these young students can learn from that?
Nobody's asked this question before. People ask what is the advice you would give, but so I was expecting you'll ask that and I was preparing for that answer. You twisted it in the end. I think one of the common mistakes people make is that they want to do the cool thing, right? They want to really do what will make them talk about to their friends and go to a party and they can flaunt it. Before they even build something, they want to go on the Instagram and talk about it. Versus really identifying where there is a big problem and what is the right solution. And this I see a lot, right? And I think that there's that deficit of focus. They want to do edtech, fintech, all of it at the same time. Like I've heard pitches where they'll say, I'll first start with fintech, then I'll do edtech, then I'll do this, right? I think that, and I think there is a lot of focus on funding. I mean, very few people know, I never, in my, when I got Lenskart, and now I know I've gone through a series of investments, but my first few investments, I never even knew what it is to fundraise. Like the first investment, somebody came into our remote office in Noida, which nobody could reach, and said that we want to work with you. I think there is just super obsession about that the only way we make business, and best of the businesses in the world never raise funding. And yeah, that's what I would say.
But then I must say that either you're a drama person or that cool yourself that your expression never changes in the Shark Tank. You're always very respectful to whatever they are talking about, and that's a credit to you. I really appreciate
I will credit this to 10 years of working in Lenskart, because when I was a young entrepreneur, I used to be more aggressive, more passionate. Now I've become more patient. And it is the need of the hour, so it just comes out that way. Also, I think one of the challenges I've seen is that if you knew me 10 years back and you were not Ronnie, you would not know that I would build Lenskart to this stage. Literally. You cannot predict these things, and you cannot tell someone that this will not work. It is because Murphy's law applies there, and the very high chance that will work. And you want to come back and look stupid 10 years later. So you might as well say, I don't know enough about it, or I don't feel excited about it. But keep going. So I think I'm also make sure that I don't look stupid.
Lesson for my faculty: keep going. Don't get disappointed ever.
Yeah. If we knew what they knew, then you would be doing that too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. So we're going to do a quick rapid fire with you, if that's okay. Do you have some more questions on?
Do a couple.
Okay.
Part of a rapid
Okay,
fire.
sure. Because again, your favorite college memory.
Teaching tuition to a French student who used to pay me very well, so that I never had to cook food. I only would do work, study, and come.
There you go. So teaching is lucrative.
Yes.
Your inspiration.
Bill Gates.
And why is that?
I think the bets that he has taken about first that bold bet, that PC in every home and realizing, and then taking a big bet like eradicate malaria from the world. Like these are big bets, And saying and then staying course and delivering is not easy. And they are usually beyond just monitoring business, right? I mean, they ended up becoming large business, but I think the motivation was beyond the business.
A startup on Shark Tank that has impressed you the most?
Too many. So one of the things in Shark Tank, the startups are very impressive, and one of the things that has happened in the last 2 years is that my overall view about India has changed. When I was not doing Shark Tank, I used to sit in my office in a box and I didn't know what was happening around the world. And now, one thing that I realized is that whatever we are doing at least, people are doing that outside with 10x less money and 10x faster speed. And that context is very, very important. The one recent one I can tell you is that there was this company called Haq Darshak, right? I think it recently got aired, and the very, very inspiring entrepreneur and who left a pretty successful career to solve a simple problem that there are so many government schemes that are available for people in India and almost 90% of them never get utilized. To solve a problem like that, and he's doing it at a pretty large scale. Now, he has some 30,000 agents in villages getting people, and if you look at the millions of dollars of those scheme utilization that he has already made happen was phenomenal. And you look at the team and the people that he has hired and that are working for him. I mean, even at Lenskart, we would not have that kind of solid leadership. Right? So, yeah.
So I think that's a startup for all of us to look out to. What did you cherish the most? Your first funding or when you turned unicorn?
None. I cherish most the different phases of my entrepreneurial journey and the challenges that come with it. Like at some point it was just about how do we get high quality specs to people in a centralized model. Right now it's all about how do we build a great culture which is sustainable and can take us from here, and I fail in it every day. If I'm failing a lot, then I like it, and then, and usually my past experience is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So I will keep at it till I win it, some way or the other.
So persistence, very important. Very, very important. Your most challenging problem? They only get tougher, the questions.
Yeah.
Mine will be the toughest.
Okay.
I think motivating and inspiring a large number of people to come work with me and Lenskart on this problem, because it's not a small one, and the vision for billion, which is touching 1 billion people, is not an easy one. And how to keep them motivated, keep them innovating and executing at the same time. And as skill increases for an organization, execution takes over and innovation goes down. So how do you balance both and make that ship moving forward at that same pace?
And basis that, your most difficult decision?
I want to say, I nowadays call that thing, make the elephant dance. Right? I read it in a book, because the organization is the elephant, because it becomes big. So it needs to keep dancing. Sometimes it becomes slower. So, yeah, what was the next question?
The next question is, your preference, entrepreneur or investor?
Entrepreneur.
Any day.
Any day.
And why is that?
I'm an action-oriented guy. Shark Tank, sometimes you would see I'll be sleepy.
Your most attribute of an entrepreneur? Most important attribute?
I think humility. Just ability to know that you don't know enough.
We can see
and
that.
learn and grow, and whatever you know now will, and yeah.
And I think for all of us here, if there was just one or two words in terms of advice, I know she talked about problems, but advice that you would give our students as they start their startup journey, because we read a lot in the news, we see a lot on the internet, but you're someone who's lived through it, and they're just in their, I would say, pre-revenue phases. What would you advise them?
Make meaning, money will follow.
went for it.
Fire.
You're the boss.
Really? Okay. How and who selects your frames for your classes in Shark Tank? Because you're wearing a different frame every day.
I do.
And why and how do you select them?
I look at the model which is least selling. And I have to tell you the story. These glasses that I'm wearing, right? They were the least selling model at Lenskart. Like nobody would wear them, and you can see why, right? And somebody is waving from the back that they were the same pair. And it is today now the largest selling pair of eyewear after a Ray-Ban Aviator in the world. Single model. So it makes sense, right? I take the products that don't sell, increase their sales, it's good for business.
See, that's a great answer that you've given. And I think let's open it up to the students.
Yeah.
A couple of questions.
Just before that, who chose the name of your son?
My wife. We had two names. My name got rejected because she did a poll. That poll was also biased. I had thought of a name called Eve, which is the foundation.
Correct.
And she chose Ivan, and then
So the
it's a good
students
name.
were asking me, what does Ivan mean?
It means God's gracious gift.
Okay. All right, that's good. All right, let's open it up to the audience. Yeah. Young man there, stand up.
And you're going to have to scream because the mic ain't going to reach you.
Hello. Okay. Hi, I'm Jano. My question is that I just love digital marketing campaigns, whether it has featured Bhuvan or Karan Johar and all your Pride collections. So I just love it. And I remember when you pitched at Shark Tank, you said you bought 30 domains relating to car. So it's in your name. And again, that's a very genius thing to do because you can, venture out in anything. So my thing is, I'm pursuing digital marketing. What are your tips for me if I want to do an e-commerce as Lenskart? What to look out for in digital marketing?
So, firstly, I'm not an expert at digital marketing. You should reach out to somebody who's 21 years old and they can tell you better. But one thing that I've learned watching Shark Tank pitches, and that there is just over focus on optimization and under focus, less focus on content, right? And so content has to take the precedence, right? I think there's just a lot of focus on AI, optimize, all of that is automatic now. Google and Facebook, they know how to make sure. If you create good content, and the definition of good content is relevant content. People need to relate to it. You can post a content on social media which you think is great, and very high likelihood that no one else thinks it's great. When you put a content which people can relate to, you'll see. So I think just focus on how do you create content that people can relate to and which will be useful to them. Which is why educational content is picking up a lot on social media because they can derive it. Earlier people were just used to watching content which was not adding anything to them, to their lives, to their knowledge. Now they watch content which is educational, even if it is about how to put a lipstick better, right? It's just adding, it increases their knowledge more.
Thank you.
Good one right there.
Young lady. Introduce yourself.
I'm Siddhi. So I would want to ask you that when was the day you realized that purpose is actually more important for money? Like some incident, some story, if you'd like to share.
So actually what happened is that work was becoming quite hectic about a year, 2 years back, and by that time Lenskart had also become quite big in the sense that money was not the problem, and I think the company was doing well enough that I could feel that the money motivation is okay. Maybe that was the reason. But I took a 3-day break, literally by myself, and I went to Dehradun, to a place where you can't use phones. And I reflected back, what do I want to do? And that is when the moment happened for me that I went back to what really truly gives me happiness and why I started this. And that is the moment where I felt that if I look back 10 years later, what would make me most happy? It was in the impact that I would make in Vision Connection. And second is my wife runs a foundation now called the Lenskart Foundation. So while I'm not as involved, I recently went to, just before visiting Dehradun, I had gone there to Tuflakabad in the foundation and I met bunch of kids, not as many. Sorry, I don't know, you're not kids, sorry. But I met kids who were 7-year-old, 10-year-old, and I came across a kid there who was -7 in power, and her parents were also there, and they were about to make her drop out of school, and she was studying in I think grade 3rd or 4th, and -7 power but no glasses. And she was just about to. And now I know that girl, and now she's actually doing very well in both English and math. And so, that felt like this is probably reliving that Bill Gates moment to some extent. Yeah.
Okay, last question and then we'll move on. Yeah, because,
Peyush, hi, I'm Shamit and I'm a faculty in the design school. I must tell you that more than who is going to be my son who is going to be very happy when I tell him that I met you today. Because we watched Shark Tank together at dinner. So you mentioned about humility being a most important attribute of an entrepreneur. It's a personality trait, right? So do you think it can be inculcated through education, and how do we do it? Because as a faculty, that's something that we want our students also to have.
Look, I am not a professor. I definitely think it can be inculcated in parenting and the value system. So universities building the value system should be able to. I think, it is really saying that I don't know enough, right, and I need to learn. And if university is teaching how to learn, it is in a way inculcating it. It's just that sometimes when you say I am #1 university and some of those things maybe, and I've seen sometimes when students come from that, they say they kind of look down upon students from other universities. I think that is, you lose the humility piece because you feel you are smarter than someone else. So yes, probably yes.
Thank you.
This young man has been standing for a long time. Let's hear him.
Right.
You'll have to shout. Let's see. Come on.
we can't hear you.
No, I can.
We
Okay.
can. We can. No, we can hear.
His name is Arvind. Ask the question, sir.
If tomorrow you have to start an online food and beverage brand, I know you have no expertise in this, because randomly as an entrepreneur, what do you feel are the most important steps you have to take to start an online food and beverage business?
Why do you want to start an online food and beverage brand is the first thing I would want to ask. Is there really something, like if you want to start it because you are passionate about food, then first explore that. Why did you add the word online, I don't know, to it so early? Because if the proposition, you need to understand what is the problem that you are solving. Is online food delivery you are solving? Then you could say, I want an online food delivery. I think you need to diagnose what exactly is the gap. Even if it is not a new gap, it is an existing gap. You should be very sure of the problem that you want to solve. But I want to do an online food brand is not starting with any gap. It seems like it again goes back to that saying this is the cool thing to do, so let's do. If you say I want to build a food brand because I'm passionate about food, I totally get it. But the moment you add online to it, it kind of gets me the feeling that you already looked at.
I just give it a touch with their online experience.
Okay,
That's of course
you're testing my expertise.
You want to allow one more question?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
That boy there in the black.
And
When said, my name is Aman. So my question is quite similar, but it's about today's competition. Like Lenskart, you started long time ago, and now as you see, there are big competitions out there. There are much more competition than it was 10 years before, 5 years before. So my question is that, sir, how would you say if a person, if you wanted to start Lenskart today, how would you get into this field and how do you think the competition would be this year itself?
If I knew, then yes, but
And how do you start?
I think if I had to start Lenskart today, and good question, thank you, is I would go back and understand what is the gap in the market, what is the biggest problem customers are facing, is there an unsolved problem, and what can I do to solve it. I'll give you an example, right? Today if your glass is broke, and maybe I'm just hitting myself right now, but if your glass is broke and you needed it in 2 hours, Lenskart doesn't solve it for you, right? So maybe you find a problem and then you fix it, and that's what I would do.
And so if there's no problem, then there's no problem. That's
Then don't do it.
Thank you. We would now be ending the question and answer session. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us today, inspiring all of us. And I think a key learning for all of us here today would be that make meaning, money will follow. So thank you so much for being here with us today.